we're cultivating in our meditation practice, in our sitting practice? How do we bring these into our daily lives to benefit from them? How do we remember? So this is a question I got in one of my corporate sessions this week. I know what I need to do, but how do I remember? Because we get swept up in our busy lives, don't we? So as Natasha said, first and foremost, the daily practice, the daily sitting meditation practice is the way that we kind of build this muscle to come back to the present moment, to be embodied. Because when we're embodied, this is when we're able to create this space to choose how we respond to situations, and also to change our perception, how we're seeing potentially triggering situations. So mindfulness allows us to choose our response, and we do this by creating this space, observing what is present for us in the moment, noticing thoughts about a situation, being able to interrogate those thoughts. Are they true? Are they a fact? Or have we gone into automatic negative thinking, which is the brain's tendency? We have this automatic tendency to view things more in a negative light than a positive. So our practice helps us to come back and start to see things more clearly, in particular our thoughts. We have this choice to choose whether we engage in the thoughts or whether we choose to come back to the moment or start to explore things differently in terms of how we're thinking. In terms of emotions, we can start to discern and create some space for the emotions, because our emotions then trigger behaviors in us. If we're in automatic pilot, often these automatic behaviors are not helpful. So again, if we can start to explore emotions, create some space around them, again, this is where we can choose our response in those moments. So we have control over our behaviors, but we need to create this space to choose our response. Otherwise, we're going to be in reactive mode. So the amygdala's triggered in a stressful situation, and that's when we can go into these automatic behaviors that don't help the situation. So just by simply coming back to ourselves, connecting with the body in some way, connecting with the breath, that's where we can start to disengage the amygdala and come more into the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which allows for emotion regulation and more problem solving and choosing responses. So the daily meditation practice is the first tip for you to be able to build this muscle of awareness. And we're going to do a short meditation practice in a moment, and it's just going to be a 5-minute practice. So if you don't have a daily practice, just starting with 5 minutes meditation a day is what's going to help you grow this sense of embodiment, this sense of presence in your life, which will start to permeate your life and start to be with you in these stressful situations. Other tools that we're going to explore in this half of the session are tools that allow us to connect with ourselves, as well as compassion tools. So I'm going to give you some kind of real good cheat compassion tools for yourself, self-compassion, and for others, which again is going to help you respond in a much more kind, loving way towards yourself and towards the people that you are dealing with. Even if somebody has done something wrong, even if there's been unacceptable behavior, if we can bring this quality of compassion to what's happened, we can still assert ourselves, but we still see the other person as a human being who's potentially suffering in some way as well. So lots of little tips and tools I'm going to give you in this half of the session that helps you really bring this quality of mindfulness from the cushion, so that the qualities we cultivate on the cushion into your lives. So let's start off, as I said, with this very short meditation practice. And I'm going to be inviting you in this session. So forget everything I've said. As we always say, as we go into the practice, don't try and remember anything I've just said. We're going to go into this practice, and I'm going to be inviting you to choose an anchor that works for you. We often work with the breath, but in this practice, I'm going to be inviting you to play around with a few different anchors and see which one works best for you, which one helps you to connect with the body and your present moment experience most. So let's get into a comfortable seated position, whatever that is for you. I like to call it a dignified posture. And we'll start off just by, rolling our shoulder. I like to roll my shoulders up to the ears, back and down. We have our feet flat on the floor. And you can close your eyes now if you wish, or if you prefer to keep your eyes open, lowering the gaze to the floor and softening the gaze. And taking this moment to drop in. So dropping in is really just dropping out of the mind and connecting with the body. So this could be easy points to connect with are things like our feet on the floor. So feeling the ground under our feet, noticing those contact points. Or feeling the pressure of the chair under the thighs and the seating bones. Really connecting with those sensations, the physical sensations of contact with the chair. It could also be connecting with our hands in the lap. So feeling the weight of the hands, feeling the connection with the hands on the legs, the fabric of our clothing perhaps. Feeling where the fingers touch the hands. Perhaps you feel skin or warmth. And maybe noticing if the hands are warm or cold. And for a moment, inviting you to just connect with the breath. So feeling the physical sensations of the breath as best you can. So this could be the cool air on the inhale, warm on the exhale. Or perhaps it's the air coming through past the lips, into the mouth, the back of the throat. Or it could be the subtle rise and fall of the breath in the chest and the belly. And you may notice as you connect with the breath as best you can, the mind is wandering off in thought, perhaps thinking about what you're doing after the session, or judging your experience, criticizing your experience, or perhaps reminiscing on events from the day. So remembering this is what minds do. You're not doing anything wrong if the mind has wandered, just noticing where the mind's gone and then coming back, connecting with the breath. Letting go now of the focus on the breath. And another anchor that can be useful is sound. So just inviting you to open up to the sound in your environment. So this could be internal sounds like the breath, or my voice, sounds within the room, like the whirring of your laptop, Just listening to the qualities of the sound rather than labeling or thinking about what's making the noise. Listening to the tone, the pitch, the volume. Again, if the mind wanders, no big deal. As soon as you become aware of the thinking, there's a choice. You can choose to engage in the thought, or you can choose to come back to the anchor of sound. And now I'm inviting you to choose an anchor of your own. So perhaps you connected most easily with the feet on the floor, or the pressure of the chair under the legs, or the hands in the lap, or the breath, or sound. Or maybe there's another anchor, another part of the body that you can easily bring your focus to, and it connects you instantly to your present moment experience. So choosing an anchor yourself now, and as best you can, gently resting this curious and friendly attention on your anchor. As best you can, keeping your attention with your anchor point. Staying connected with this present moment experience. Where is the mind? Again, if the mind's wandered, it's no big deal. You're not doing anything wrong. As soon as you become aware of the thought, just noticing where the mind's gone. Noticing with curiosity. And then choosing to leave the thought there, letting it go, and gently bringing the focus and attention back to your chosen anchor point. And now we'll gradually draw this practice to an end, inviting you to once again, connect with the feet on the floor, connect with the pressure of the chair under the legs. And in a moment, I'll ring the bell, and when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and return to the screen. So, a very short practice. The difference there was that you were choosing an anchor point. So, if anybody would like to share what their anchor was, for example, and how they found that practice, any questions about the practice, please do feel free to share. But the important thing about this practice, when we find an anchor that really helps to bring us back, that helps us to extract ourselves from our thoughts, from our reactivity, something that grounds us in the present moment, then it makes it much easier to come back to that anchor when we need to, when we've been triggered in those stressful moments. So, staying connected with your anchor is the first step for how we can bring our presence from the cushion into our lives. So, if you want to share your anchor or anything from that practice, please do so. And what we'll also do now is move into another practice which helps us again to punctuate our day with mindfulness. And this is the stop practice, and it's a very easy practice to remember. So if we take the letters from stop, we stop for the S. And this will be when we notice a feeling of overwhelm. So we just stop for a moment. We take a breath. So just breathing in. We observe. So if you wish, you can close your eyes and just doing this check-in, observing what's alive for you right now, what emotions, what thoughts, what body sensations. Just taking a moment to check in. And then opening your eyes again and proceeding. So, a very simple practice, stop. So, as soon as you notice the signs of stress, for example, you notice that you've been triggered, you stop, you take a breath, connecting with just one breath, observing what's around for you in that moment, and then proceeding. And this very simple practice, again, can snap us out of this cycle of reactivity, especially if it's a stressful situation. It takes us out of this fight, flight, or freeze situation when our stress response is being triggered. And again, it allows us to proceed from this calmer place, this balanced place. The next practice, so the stop practice, something to remember, maybe to write down, and you can even set perhaps 3 times in your agenda to do a stop practice, just to get into the habit of doing them. And Paul's shared here. Um, I need the routine. The anchor was the fridge in the dark. Thank you, Paul. Exactly. So if we can stick with our anchor, this is something that we can then ingrain as a habit. And Hannah shared, um, thank you. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. I chose the breath, but I like the fact it's not static and reminds me that everything's always changing. But it was interesting to be reminded that there are other anchors. Yes, exactly. We have there's anything could be an anchor there. That's it. And particularly if the breath isn't great, because if we think about Corona has really affected how people breathe, actually. And if I've got a cold or an allergy or something, the breath isn't always the best place. So exactly, knowing there are other anchors. Daniel, your anchor was your cat. Yes, I'm sure that your cat really brings you back to the present moment as well. So just choosing those anchors that are going to help us. Now, another mindfulness tool that helps to interrupt our cycle of reactivity is a very simple compassion practice. So if we are involved in a conversation with somebody who's triggered us, and often I communicate most with my husband, and he probably gets the raw end of the stick with me a lot of the time, even after my 25 years of practice. So it's very natural to go into our reactions that we might regret later. Let's say, I don't want to label things as good or bad, but we can react in ways that we wish we hadn't sometimes. And so this is a very simple practice. It's just a very simple phrase that you can say before you respond to somebody who might have triggered you in some way. And this is saying to yourself towards this person, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be free from suffering. So let's all just say that phrase together now to ourselves. And maybe you can think of somebody who recently triggered you, just allowing yourself to feel this sense of kindness and compassion and sending it to this person before we respond. So again, you may wish to close your eyes as you do this. Place a hand on the heart if you wish, or you can just keep your eyes open. And the phrase is, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be free from suffering. And if suffering is a word that doesn't resonate with you, you could use it, the word stress or struggles. So may you be happy, may you be well, may you be free from suffering, stress, or struggles. And again, just this moment, and you can do, so if you are in a conversation, it just takes a moment to come back to yourself, perhaps connect with your anchor, say these words to yourself. And then, as you can imagine, even if you have to assert yourself, even if you have to be assertive with this person, you are going to do it with this element of compassion for them as well, because most of the time difficult people are actually suffering, and that's why they're being difficult. So if we can you see how this practice could really shift your communications with a difficult person, bringing this quality of compassion in the communication. And so I don't know how that was for you guys in terms of trying this, but again, writing down those words, something to remember the next time you might be in a conversation where you've been triggered. And then finally, the last practice that I wanted to share with you is a very short self-compassion break. And this is, again, for those moments where you notice that you've been triggered, you are feeling challenging emotions, for example, something's happened to you. The most important thing in those moments is bringing kindness toward yourself, the same way you would a friend who is experiencing the same difficulty. So what we will do now is just a very short self-compassion break. So again, you may wish to close your eyes as we do this. You can imagine that you've just been triggered if you wish, or just go through the practice to ingrain it for the next time you do experience a challenge or stressful event or challenging emotions. So we just close our eyes. And the first thing we have to do is acknowledge what's happened, because often we just plow on through. So we just stop, we acknowledge. So you may wish to say to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. Or if suffering doesn't resonate with you, it could be, this is a moment of stress. Or ouch. Or this hurts. So taking this moment to acknowledge this is a moment, a challenging moment. So choosing a phrase that works for you. And then the next step, we just normalize what we're experiencing. Suffering is a part of life, or stress is a part of life. So choosing a phrase that just acknowledges stress is a part of life, and we all experience stress. So you're not alone in your stress and your struggles. So normalizing our experience. It's tough, but we all experience these moments. And then the third step to this self-compassion break is a moment of kindness and tenderness towards ourselves. So again, you might wish to place your hand on your heart. And just saying, may I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the kindness and support that I need. Or choosing a phrase that resonates with you, a moment of kindness and tenderness towards yourself. And just finally, let's bring those 3 phases together, acknowledging this is a moment of suffering, or whatever phrase you chose. Suffering is a part of life, so normalizing suffering is a part of life. We all experience stress and difficulties. And then thirdly, a moment of kindness. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the compassion, the love, the kindness I need. And connecting with the feet on the floor again and opening the eyes now if you had them closed. So a self-compassion break. Again, if you can imagine doing this with ourselves in a moment of stress, discomfort, this again is going to really bring us down into that moment and allow us to respond to what's happening in a more balanced way. So several tools there. Do share which one you think you will be bringing away with you today. We had the anchor, we had the stop practice, we had a compassion practice for other people, and we also had a self-compassion practice for ourselves. So I hope you all are taking something away from the session today. Thank you very much for joining us. We will be back again next month. So you will be signed up if you've already signed up for the webinars for that. And we have lots of other courses and workshops and activities going on. So do check out our websites and our Facebook pages for those, and wishing you all a great evening. And yeah, again, that the key element is that daily meditation practice, and it can just be 5 minutes a day, focusing on your anchor, and then you can gradually build it up. But it's more about the daily practice that's going to help you benefit the most from mindfulness and meditation. So thank you, everybody, and I will hopefully see you again next month. Have a great evening. Thanks, Hannah. Yes, some stress busting tools. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Sandra. I hope you will join us again. We will be rolling these over into next year as well. So do keep an eye, do stay connected with us, won't you? So thank you, everybody, and have a great evening.